it's great that you're able to join us. My name's Namdi. I'm host of Halftime Chat out here in the UK. And, over the past 18 months, we've been celebrating our groups from 80s, 90s, even 2000s, and, just getting the audience a little bit closer to our favorite artists and just get a sense of how they made their journeys through the entertainment industry and stuff. But we have an international audience, and I always like to be able to let them know where you were sort of born and raised.
Cleveland, Ohio, in
Okay.
good old USA.
Okay, Cleveland, Ohio. So so is it the same state where the Bengals, the Cincinnati?
Same state, yes,
Same
sir.
state. Okay, okay,
Yes,
in
sir.
Ohio. Okay, and so growing up back in Cleveland, what was your musical inspirations?
Well, Ohio is like the state of funk.
Okay.
So we had a lot of funk that came out of Ohio. And so that was a lot of my inspirations. And, I had other inspirations. I listened to a wide variety of music because once I started learning about music, it was like I could hear songs and kind of pick out the instruments and pull out the parts and stuff. So that I didn't know that I could do that at first and early on, but it was a thing that I figured that, wow, that's something. At least I thought it was something at the time.
Yeah, but I mean, but were you, growing up as a kid, were you getting the opportunities to sing?
Yeah, well, most people will say that they grew up singing in church. My thing was more so the songs I heard, songs I heard on the radio. Um, it was a big influence. Like radio back in the day was um, more variety. You know
Mm.
what I mean? So you'll hear like James Brown, and you'll hear like some, Eagles, or you'll hear some Steely Dan, and you'll hear some Confunction, or
Mm.
some, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, and I think that's how the UK is, if I'm not mistaken, from the time, the music is looked at different. You know what I mean? I would have to say that, our English brothers and sisters appreciate the R&B a whole lot more, it seems like. Um, that's what it seems like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think one of the things that you get over here, and
Come
so
on, maybe you tell me.
yeah, I mean, so part of my experience is I was born in Liverpool, where the Beatles are. But when I was around 10, 11, my family moved to Nigeria, so I went to high school there. So when I appreciate music, it would be from both the UK, both in Nigeria, and then I moved to the States in '92. But one of the things you notice in the UK back in those '70s and '80s is that they had maybe one or two stations, but they played everything, and they
Exactly.
appreciated talent as opposed to, okay, this is R&B, so black people's music. It wasn't
Yeah.
like that. I think in the
Wasn't
90s,
like that.
no,
Yeah.
but in the 80s and 70s, it was pretty much music, and so music was celebrated. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of the artists who were, yeah, so from Earth, Wind and Fire, Confunction, the Commodores, all these Motown acts were played across the BBC, which was pretty much a pop station, but played
Yeah.
music. It was that like how it was growing up in Cleveland, where there
Yeah.
wasn't as much segregated
Yeah.
music on the radio.
Exactly. Which gave me a different appreciation for just music overall. It didn't, it wasn't like it was just like the sounds I heard. Okay, I like that. I could listen to a lot of different stuff, and I can vibe with it. So it didn't matter if You know, it didn't have to be just R&B, but R&B is my first, you know what I'm saying? My first love
Yeah.
is the R&B, but I appreciate all styles of music. And that's how it was. I remember when we were there in London, and that's the one thing, the takeaway I got from that is that the radio was, you know, more diverse
Yeah.
as far as what they played. I think it's because they have a stricter rule on what's played. It's got to go through whatever channels it goes through before it's like approved. When we were there with Casanova, I want to say that James Brown was on the charts with an old song.
Okay. I know that he was doing well with living in America, and that was a international. Because as I said, most of my experience would be both when I was in Nigeria and both in the UK. So those type of songs were doing well across both continents, both
Yeah,
countries that I can know. But even before you joined Levert, though, what did you so as a kid, you know, listening to the music, were in school, were you singing or playing instruments, or how did you
playing
take your music?
instruments. I was primarily playing instruments. Um, it started in elementary school, and it was really just intrigue. You know what I mean? Intrigue along with just wanting to get out of class, and you know, so it's elementary school. You know, in elementary school over here, you stay in the same class all day. You have recess, and you go back to
Yeah.
the same class. So it was just an opportunity for me to, you know, see another class, you know.
Okay.
And so when I got in there, I liked it. You know, I did like it, even though it wasn't my first choice of instrument, but it was, you
What
know, I
instrument
had
was that?
violin.
Oh, wow. Okay, violin.
Yeah. So, which is, is kind of tough,
Yeah, technical. Yeah.
technically, but once you know your fingering, you know what I mean?
Oh,
It's just one of them things. And I think that you know, help develop my ear training
okay.
because of that fact. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. And then
um
when you got older, then go high school, what was the idea? I mean, were you then singing or still just focus being more the music?
now I was singing, but I was still like, in high school, me and Gerald would do talent shows. So we did my high school talent show, and so I primarily played. So we had a band, and
Okay.
we had other people in the band that was singing, that was out front. Gerald was out front, and I kind of had the guys playing. And so it was kind of that thing. When we would do stuff, and as far as talent shows or little events and stuff, and I would primarily play and he would sing. This is before we officially formed Levert.
Yeah. How did you guys meet?
My mom's knew his moms, and she took me over there, and it was the rest is history. We met, and we had the same interests, and they had a big piano in the foyer, and I started playing, and and we just had we had a good time.
How old were you by this time?
Uh, what I would say I was around 14,
Oh,
something like that.
wow. And so you're playing on the piano. I mean, by this time you're multi-instrumentally trained piano.
Well, I wasn't trained at piano. I just picked that up because, I felt like it was more versatile for, as far as an accompaniment. With other instruments, sometimes I felt like you needed another instrument with the violin. You know what I mean? You could play
Yeah.
it by itself, but in order, I just felt like you just needed more, like a violin and a singer. I don't know how that You can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it, but I'm just saying, you know, it's
Yeah.
just like you still need some more backup. You need something else. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So the piano to me was something that you could play all songs and people get it. Like, oh, I know it. Even if it's not a piano song, you could
Yeah.
play it on the piano and people be, oh yeah, I know what song that is. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I think intrigued me about the piano, because you could just play it and people can just sing along. Whereas if
Yeah.
I played a horn or whatever, they can sing along, but it's not the same. You know,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
get more of the basics with the piano. You get the, you know, the bottom notes with the bass, and you got the top that'll play and chords and melody, or, you know, so I just thought it was more versatile for what I, you know, because I wanted to be able to, you know, play those songs that I was hearing, and I could really effectively try to do that on the piano.
Wow.
On the violin, it was,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, they might get it, they might not.
They
You know
might.
what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, if you're a country star, it's it does you know, they probably will catch most of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it. Yeah. I mean, even after you met Gerald, did you have a sense from yourself that okay, this is a career, or was it more like a nice little pastime? Let's just sing on the weekends and then focus on school and
No, I never thought of it as a career. I never thought of it that far in advance. I never had a clue of how it was going to turn out. I never thought that far. Now, I think Gerald did because of his background, because of his father, because of what he's seen himself. You
oh
know what I'm
yes,
saying?
the OJs, yeah, yeah, okay,
So for me, I didn't see all of that.
okay,
I didn't see all that coming up. I didn't, you know, I didn't really go to a concert till I was a teenager, older, you know, a little older teenager.
okay,
You know, so I didn't have that kind of experience that he had, as
yeah,
far as, you know, with his father, or being backstage, or meeting other famous people, or any of that. You know what I mean? So I
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
have, you know, my thing was more like, you know, it became my love. I loved to do it. Didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't even think about it that far. Gerald had more of a idea of where it could go, because he was living it as a kid.
mhm,
You know what I mean? And so him seeing his dad, you know, I believe that really propelled him to want to do that. He see the girls going crazy, and, you know, all of that. So yeah.
yeah, but then did you actually? I just it's as we are talking, I completely forgot that his dad was, part of the OJs. Did
All
did
right.
you? Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, no, it's fine. Did you know who his dad was? That he was a famous recording
No,
artist?
initially I can say that I didn't put them together. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Initially I didn't, because I didn't see him initially when I first went over, and it didn't click to me because I didn't relate the songs. That I heard some of the songs, but I didn't relate them to be that's who it is. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah,
Remember,
yeah.
I've never seen anybody that was famous or had been on a stage or had an album or nothing. You know what I mean? So it
Yeah.
wasn't that kind of thing for me. And but once, you know, I connected the two, and it might not have happened for a while because of um um we, you know, we would be doing what we doing. You know, when I
Mm.
was over there, we'd be trying to make up songs, or, you know, or watching movies or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, but it was one time I really, you know, I really connected it, and it was like, wow, okay, these, you know, it's like I'm listening to all these hit songs, and you know, so it was, but it was so just organic. It was just so kind of natural that it was no thing, because it didn't, he didn't like come off like any kind of way, you know what I mean? So it was just like, oh, we just chilling at the house, you know. It wasn't no, you know, it wasn't no, it wasn't a star, you know, just in motion at the time. We just at home chilling.
Yeah. Now, I guess, was it a case for you then? When did you then ever? When did you start to feel the sense of, you know what, instead of getting a 9 to 5, maybe I could invest my time and energy into getting a career in the music industry? Was there a particular moment that it happened for you?
Well, it was in process ever since we got together. It was in process. I didn't really know it, but it was in process because we went through all the stages. It wasn't a thing like, you know, we got put up in a situation. We actually worked for this to happen. So, you know, Eddie didn't take us in the studio for a long time. It wasn't until he heard some songs that he felt like, you know, like, man, that could be a song, like could be a real, you
Wow.
know. And it took a few times before of hearing some of these demos before he did that. So
Okay.
we go back to the drawing board. And but in between time, we were doing shows around in the little chitlin circuit. We was, you know, hitting all the little clubs and bars, and I was barely old enough to be in it. And I was older than them, but they were, you know, we would have to do 2 or 3 sets in some of these places. And during the intermission, when we take a break, we had to go to a dressing room or go to the basement
Okay.
because we were underage.
What was that
So
experience like, though? I mean, just performing to an audience, an older audience.
what was it like?
Yeah, just that experience.
It was cool because, you know, our people can, you know, our people know how to party, and if you, you know, you hit the right buttons, and they gonna jam with you. And you know, it's no other feeling than that. And that's, you know, that's the beauty of music, is because it can speak to a lot of different people from a lot of different places.
Mm. But at this stage, when you were performing there, who were people like New Edition out, or who was out around your age that people could identify when you guys were?
Around our age, I don't I don't recall who was on, because I'm thinking like around early 80s.
Okay. Yeah, New Edition came out like 85, 86. With that.
Yeah, they came out kind of like in the same time frame that we did. We had an independent record. So yeah, it was around the same time, because our first independent record was like 84, 85.
Okay, because I was just wondering about being, late teenagers performing to adults, and how what them, because if there was no one, I mean, the Jacksons would have been, 10 years back, so we there wasn't. I don't know if there was anyone else that was doing it, that type of music for people to
I
relate
can't,
to.
yeah, I can't think of, definitely it was no groups.
Mm,
There were no groups that I can remember um, that was doing it like that.
yeah,
Now, you might have had some groups like Full Force that might have been around early 80s.
yeah,
You know
okay,
what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, they might have been around. And then at that time too, early on, another group that we toured with for the early part of our career was Force MDs.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had some early, early Levert Force and D's dates.
Wow. So, I guess, because what was it like when Eddie first took you guys into a studio for you, being so, you're keen on the instruments and music, as from the production side. Now you're in an actual studio. What was that experience like?
I mean, it was short. It was real short because Eddie, we went over there the first time because the studio was at Walt's house, and he lived around the corner. Walt from the OJs,
Yeah.
and he lived around the corner. So we walked over there when he said, "Y'all come over here at such time," and blah blah. So okay, cool. We was looking forward to the time. We counting the time down, and we walk around. Yeah, we gonna head on over there. Yeah, we gonna head over there. We head over there. Get to Walt's house. We go in the basement. Where the studio was, and he got some of his players down there. Some of the band members, and they just down there kicking it, doing what they do. And all right, what's the song? Play the song. So I played the song on the piano, and Gerald sang the song, and they kind of got it down, took notes of it, and this and that and the other. And next thing you know, Eddie told us to beat it, and that was it. So we was there for a short session. We didn't really do anything other than show them the song, and then he told us to get out.
Wow.
So we left, and the next day or so, Dad came up with the finished product of what we were showing them, and Gerald called me playing it on the phone, and I was like, he's like, man, we about to do this, that, and the other. He was just amped up. And because it did sound good. Like it was like, remember, we knew nothing about producing at this time. We weren't really producers, but we was writing songs. And in the beginning, we only had like a Fender Rhodes, and we didn't have any equipment. So Eddie did buy us some equipment, like a reel-to-reel 8-track, some other, little, like a little keyboard and some other stuff. But we didn't really know how to use it or put it all together. I ain't know nothing about the 8-track or none of that. So it was all like a learning experience. Had to learn how to do it because it wasn't coming out. It was better than once we got it all connected. It was better than us trying to record songs. The first songs we was trying to do, we was using tape recorders, and we was going, one tape recorder to the next, back and forth.
Yeah, I remember those.
So, by the time we got finished with that, it was like mush.
So they're playing the finished version of your song. Well, then did they get you? Well, at this time, was it just you and Gerald, or had Sean joined in?
Well, Sean was in because he was a part of the band.
Okay.
And yeah, he was also a part of the band. It was a thing. Sean that wasn't his main interest though. Sean wanted to be, he was the youngest, so he wanted to play, he wanted to kick it, he wanted to play football, he wanted to do, and we didn't do none of that. We was, we would go out there and do it, but Gerald was always insisting on, doing something music related. Wow. And of course I did, because that's what, we hit it off with, was the music.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Sean was a part of it because Gerald was more so insisting, and so he would do it. And but once we start getting our little thing down and our sound together, our niche with doing these shows in these little bars, we would go out there and start killing them. And at that time, Sean would play drums sometime.
Okay.
And he had learned some of the set on drums, and I would play keys sometimes. So
Okay.
we had, we would change up.
Okay.
So Gerald would sing. He was singing most of the time, like as far as at the mic. And then we would have other people, eventually other band members that would come on and they would sing and come out front, like the drummer would come out and do some Prince stuff,
Okay.
or so that's how it kind of went down. And we would just exchange and do different, do different phases in the show.
So around those early 80s, though, that seemed a common theme where you had the Ready for the World and the Time and Cameo, just the even Full Force, the sort of a 6-piece, 7-piece band of musicians and singers. Was that where you were looking at it, that we're going to be a band as opposed to an R&B group?
I didn't even think that far as what it was going to be. That's just what we were doing. But once we started in the studio, it was just us three.
Okay.
But actually on the independent record, on a couple of the independent records that we did, some of the band members did play on some of the songs.
Yeah. What about the name? How did you guys settle on what you'd be called?
It was just it was like it just came out as Levert, and there wasn't no issue with me. Of course, there wasn't no issue with them because that's their name.
I mean, but I wondered how, who just say what let's call ourselves Levert. I mean,
it was I would say it was more so Gerald's idea. You know what I mean? Eddie Eddie always say that he was going to use the name for something that he wanted to do. But we took on the name, and that's just ended up being what it was.
Okay. I mean, as I said, it's a standout name. It's not like the Jacksons. Not Jackson,
yeah, it's real different. As far as what you're used to. So it was all good. I didn't know what to expect, so it wasn't like I was thinking like, man, why it's got to be your name? It wasn't that kind of thing, because I wasn't even on it like that. I was totally green to all of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was Eddie managing you guys, or did he was just an advisor?
He was more so an advisor, but he took it, when he went to try to get a deal and met with some of his friends, nobody gave us a deal.
Wow.
So that's when he hooked up with Harry Coombs, and they dropped it independently. Harry would become, at this point, would become our manager.
Okay. Now, one of the things that a common theme that we get from our guests, which we as fans had no idea about, was the business side of the music industry, which, a lot. I remember interviewing Dalvin from Jodeci a couple of weeks ago, and he said that, his parents, that they were in the studio, they made albums, but when it came to the business side, no one knew anything, and it was only when they realized that we sold all these records, we're doing all these tours, but our bank accounts don't seem to add up. Coming from the fact where you've got Eddie, who's in the industry, part of the OJs and Success, were you guys a little bit more clued up about, okay, this is how the industry works? You need to, you're publishing, make sure you keep this and stuff like that.
No, not really. You would think so, but you know, we learned some things. Like Harry would say some things. Um, Eddie was the, you know, Eddie was the showman. So, you know, that's his really main niches is the showman, you know, and you know, he do that superbly, you know. He might have talked to Gerald about certain things, but I think it was a lot of things we learned on the way.
Wow. The
But the
yeah,
good thing I can say about that too is the fact that the opportunity to actually put together your own music and actually, you know, do something and people get it. You know, that's the whole reward of everything, the good and the bad. But out of that is the, you know, the fact that that's something that I have, you know, along with the memories, you know, I could say that I have what I put, you know, the things that I helped put together is still a part of the history.
yeah.
So that's, you know, that never, you know, that never goes away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, especially music, especially when you create memorable sounds that do transcend. And as I said, when I'm talking about the songs, I will be focused as somebody who was either in the UK or in Nigeria before I moved in the 90s. When you first came out on the independent, what was did you have any expectations yourself as to, you know, how far you guys could go, or was it just were you content being big in Cleveland and you know?
No, it was, you know, things start happening so fast. You know what I mean? Like things start just really happening fast. Um, just to give you an idea how fast it was going, like we had the independent record out, we did Soul Train, we did a gig in DC, you know, after we did Soul Train and
Wow.
started getting some, you know, some publicity behind us, or the word was out. So we did a gig in DC, and I would say, and one of the execs from Atlantic was there, and after we smashed him that night, he came back and like, man, I'm gonna sign y'all, and that was it. The next year, because I would say that was like 84, 80, like 85,
Mm,
but we was dropping an album on Atlantic that next year.
wow.
So from there, we dropped the album every year till the 1990, I would say. It was
Wow.
86, 87, 88 was just Coolin', 89. We had 89 was we had Addicted to You, which was on Coming to America soundtrack.
Mm.
And we just did uh New Jack City.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that was, things was happening fast. It was all back to back to back to back, just doing, just, you know what I mean? And so you know, it was a great journey.
One of the songs that so when I was in Nigeria and finishing up high school, in the middle of high school, and Casanova comes out. So, as I said, this is not just big in the US and in the UK, but this is big in Nigeria, and this is pre-internet and stuff. So, you know, it's always amazing to me when songs cross over internationally like that. During the how the Who came up with the concept of Casanova?
That was written, produced by the Calloway brothers,
Okay.
Reggie and Vincent Calloway, fellow Ohioans.
Okay.
Their background, if you don't know, is they were with part of Midnight Star.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I love Miss Nice Star. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so they wrote the song. Sylvia at the time was, felt like we needed to get like, because the first song we put out on the Atlantic went #1 in Pop Pop Goes My Mind. So the next, that's kind of like a ballad
Yeah,
song.
yeah,
And we young, so she wanted to give us something, with some energy, with some, you know what I mean? And she, got at the Callaways, and they came back and came with this song, and we just like, we knew it was going to do something.
When you
What I mean?
first heard it, you knew it was like something special.
Yeah, we felt like it was like, yo, this is, where we need to be.
Yeah, it is, as I said, it's
And it was a change up from, as far as what our early stuff was. Like the first independent record was a slow song. The other song that we put out after Pop Pop, Let's Go Out Tonight, was a slow song. You know what I mean? So it was the slow songs that was making the moves, but we were still young, but we was put into a balladeer old kind of category.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because people were debating on whether or not, when they first heard I'm Still, that was our first independent single, people were debating whether or not it was the OJs. So a lot of people thought that was the OJs. And, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, Gerald always looked as if he was a man when he when he first started. Just never stopped with the voice. He always facing with Johnny Gill when he joined New Edition. He felt like a man among the boys and stuff. So I can see how his voice would be tailored towards the ballads and stuff.
Yeah.
But
after that, we had a series of up tempos that, after Casanova, we had a series of up tempos. After that was Fight Forever, My Forever Love, but that next album was just Coolin.
Yes, I mean that was a massive one. It crossed over to Nigeria with Heavy D. I was a massive Heavy D fan, so it just, yeah. I mean, and I think at this time there's the whole New Jack swing, so having those type of up tempo tracks were really crossing over. You had to keep Sweats and Johnny Kemp and Guy and all that stuff. So I can see why, and I think when you think about, you said Sylvia, is it Sylvia Roan with Atlantic? And then, okay, so you can think that she's looking at the marketplace and thinking we need to get you in a lane that you are accessible to what's going on, instead of just staying with the ballads, which is probably what those Atlantic Star, Midnight Star were doing, the type of songs, but they kind of slowed down towards the late 80s and weren't, the late radio weren't playing them as much. So I could see why she wanted to make sure you guys, as young as you were catching a ride and stuff.
Yeah. We was put into a older category off the rip. So that, and I felt like, yeah, we gotta do something. And it's not that we just, again, we didn't have our own niche down yet. Not really. I mean, we were being successful with what we were doing. Like, so they put us with producers, in the beginning. but on Just Coolin is when we were able to kind of produce the whole project. And so Just Coolin was that was like, and I remember a lot of the critics were real critical about Just Coolin. Like they hated it. They hated they did. And I still have some of the news clippings. Like, it's like, wow. Even though it was like like a Associated Press, Reuters type thing where they, all have the same, they all take the information from one article and they do it across the board.
Yeah.
But the general consensus was they hated it. And so when it went #1, it was definitely satisfying.
Yeah. Who did the production on it?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was the first album that we got the full range. Me and Gerald got the full range to produce our whole record.
so how did it work then? How does it work between the two of you actually doing the production? Who comes up with the ideas? Who's writing? Who's finding the melodies and stuff? How did it work?
I mean, it was, we had a great chemistry considering what we were able to do in that time. But I would come up primarily with the music, but sometimes sitting with the music, I come up with the concept. So there's some songs I would come up with concept along with the track idea. And then some things he would come up with the idea and put some things together. So it's just a matter of how, we would just come together on it. But more than likely, when we were not together, like a lot of that stuff, like I want to say we were still, living at the big house right before Just Coolin. You know what I mean? And because I remember doing Just Coolin at the big house. That was their house.
Okay.
Baker Heights. So yeah, when we were together at the house all the time, it would just be a thing where he would hear what's going on and we'd be vibing,
Mm.
that kind of thing. When we were not living in the same, it would be a thing where I give him a cassette at the time and he would run with it and come up with different concepts. Then we would get together and go to the studio, and I would had a little team, and they would drop the tracks and do all the technical stuff, and then we would get together and go in, and he dropped the idea, and then we go from there.
Were you enjoying being in the studio, or did you prefer being on the stage?
No, I would prefer to be behind the scenes for sure. Girl would prefer to be on the stage. Yeah.
Was there any thoughts about either singing lead or taking up in any of the songs at those early days?
Yeah, we all sang on other cuts on the record, on the albums. So that's kind of like some it is funny because I've seen people comment on YouTube on some videos and they would still think that it was all Gerald, but no, we all sang on it. Just depends on the vibe of the song, like some songs like Baby I'm Ready, Baby I'm Ready was, once we went in and he dropped the idea for Baby I'm Ready, I was like, yo, that's it right there. There's nothing else that we need to do to that. You know what I mean? And it just depends on what it is once you get to a certain point in the song making process, and that was just one of them times like, yo, but there'd be other times that we have to put the concept together even if he wrote it, we put together, you know, like background parts or, you
Mm.
know, that kind of thing. So it would be a work in process. So it was it would be, you know, like it's like again, it's no other feeling than to have a concept and take that and turn it into something that people can relate to and will go out and purchase, and they actually sing the song. And or, you know, I've heard plenty of stories of people getting married or having babies, and I done had people come up to me and say it.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, that's just, you know, gratifying to be able to say that you were a part of people's lives like that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing about music is that it's a universal language that crosses continents, crosses languages, and especially if it's when it's done right. Did what was it like then being on stage for you, especially as you guys, with Casanova and just Coolin being as big as they are? Now you're performing to people who actually do know you in bigger venues. What was that experience like for you?
What was the experience of what now?
Of being in a being in, now that you've got number one records and now you're
Oh,
getting bigger crowds, how is it like being on stage for you?
I mean, it was always, you know, it would be a touch of nerves. You know what I mean? Because, you know, you wanna do everything. Well, we had practiced so much that it was just, but you know, and sometimes you want to step out and do some different things, and you know
Mm,
what I mean? So you just want it to be right. So you would be in some nerves, and you know, so a lot of times we would eventually, once we were at a stage to have some things in the writer, we would have some you know, adult beverages in the writer, and we would partake before we take a little shot before we step out, and just main thing, go out there and you know, and do what you do.
yeah. Did at this stage, when you guys were blown up like this, now there was a lot more groups as opposed to bands in that time. Which who were you looking at and said, and I won't say it's a healthy competition?
Healthy competition. I mean, uh, you know, early on we didn't really cross paths with a lot of different groups. Um, I think at some point it was Ready for the World was out. Of course, you know, New Edition. So they were probably the, you know, the big competition, you know, at that time.
And then when you came out with Casanova and just cooling everything, was Guy were they around Tony?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They came at that time. Yeah. Now you had other, you know, situations, Guy and Tony, which, you know, both had smashes, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it was yeah, I would say what that's the 90s going into the 90s, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It was probably
89, yeah,
like 89, 80,
yeah,
88, 89, yeah.
88, 89, yeah,
So yeah, no, that I didn't it didn't it did kind of cross my mind about it, but at the same time, I just feel like if you know, you doing what you love to do, and
mm,
you put your energy and your time into that,
mm,
and I believe that, you know, you're gonna reap the benefits from that.
yeah. But as a producer, what were your thoughts of, say, of Teddy Riley and LA and Babyface and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis? Because they were producers as well, and at the time when you were learning your craft and stuff. What were your thoughts on them?
I mean, they all had smashes, super smashes. You know, for me, I just wanted to be able to be be able to, you know, be in the market and say that, yeah, I can compete You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a thing of, really beating somebody or anything like that. I just think that, I think that we we at that time I felt like we can be competitive in the market. You know what I mean? We have a combination punch too.
Yeah.
Um and we were just different. We had our own kind of thing, and it was nobody out there really like us
Yeah.
other than the OJs, but they were they were they were the founders of that,
Yeah.
and we took it and updated it and gave it our own twist.
Did you get the opportunity outside of Levert in those early days to do production for anyone else?
In the early days.
Yeah, maybe Men and Large. I don't know with
Oh
Rude
yeah,
Boys.
they were Men at Large, Rude Boys, and one of the girls were all part of the Treble Camp. We started a production company called Treble
Okay.
back in 1987, and we bought a building, and we had bought that property and housed everything there, offices. We had a rehearsal spot,
Wow.
studio there. So it was everything was real active at that time. That was just the stuff in-house, but we had produced other people, early on, like Mickey Howard, Troop. We gave Troop their first #1 single with Mamacita.
Oh, that was you. That was you.
Yeah.
Wow, that's another big track that was in Nigeria. Mamacita. I mean, it was wow. Yeah, and I interviewed John, and yeah, I didn't realize it was you. Wow.
Yeah.
Did
They
you
were
not?
on they were on Atlantic also. So they,
Okay.
that was the connection. And
Okay.
you know, like, hey, do something for them. Okay.
But that was a massive international hit. Did you not think, man, we could have done this?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, but it was just look, like I said, remember what I said that when we first started from with Atlantic from '86 on, we had back to back to back back records.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, these were songs that was coming along the way. Like
Okay.
we were even on the road, and I had the crew set up, my equipment in my room on the road. So I would have a setup wherever. So I was doing stuff like, for instance, Addicted to You, we recorded that in Florida at a studio when we was on the road.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it wasn't and that was our song, but it was like during the downtime, like for instance, some of them songs I came up with at the Big House. So I remember getting the call about and talking about doing a song for Anita Baker. And
Anita Baker.
and yeah, so I just found the demo that was sent, and we put it together, and she picked the one song, and they produced it, or they done it, her team done it. But it was just one of the opportunities that came along at that time. You know what I mean? Things was happening,
Oh,
even
what song was that for Anita?
whatever it takes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, it was a thing where we was just doing what we love to do. And
Yeah.
it was working out. And I feel that's why I always say to other people that just work on what you do, work on your craft, get your niche down, get whatever it is together to where, you're doing it the best and you're putting it out there for the people to hear the idea, to hear, and if they vibe with it, they're gonna jump with you.
Yeah. Were you seeing the financial and commercial success as a producer songwriter outweighing what it was being a recording artist?
You said, did I see that?
Did you notice the difference between when you are getting points on the record as a producer and songwriter compared to what you being a recording artist and then
Well, initially I didn't know. Again, this is this was all a learning situation. But what I'm thankful of is that I did get my credits.
Mm,
I got my credits, and I got my publishing.
mm,
So there's a lot of different stories about that. But yeah, there's a difference, and that's another thing I'm really thankful about, is that that we were put into that mix as being writers, and even though they didn't, they put us with other producers, like I just posted about me like vibing with him Tume back in the day when I didn't know, I'm just open to all the music, but when I came across them, like in the early, they had some
mm,
funky stuff that made me want to work with Mtume. So when I got the opportunity, and they asked me, who you want to work with, I said, I want to work with Mtume. So we ended up doing a song. We ended up doing 2 songs with Mtume, and
wow.
it was all just like unbelievable stuff that was happening, and taking it all in, like, wow, I'm really here. Uh, but it was, I wouldn't trade it for nothing.
Yeah. Because towards the mid 90s or so, when the group breaks sort of parts ways and Gerald goes solo and forms and then LSG, did you then say, okay, this is what I really want to do now, just be in the studio and creating music? Or did you contemplate going solo yourself?
No, I never contemplated really going solo. I felt like um my thing was to do it with the guys I did it with, you know.
Mm,
And you know, I didn't feel like I needed to do it, like that. And it wasn't my, you know, again, I'd rather be behind the scenes.
mm,
And so it did come up one time about doing it, and I was asked about it, and I was like, no, I don't really want. You know what I mean? It was that kind of thing, and but after a while, you'd be like, hey, maybe I should have did it. Now I'm planning on some things that I have going that I'm going to do, because I have some things going on. Um, I have to tell my story, and along with that, the plan is to come out and introduce, music that was never released, or
wow.
uh, and new music that I would put together. Um, yeah, so
In,
that's part of the plan.
so in what format should we expect then? Is it just 2022 that you're looking to come up with? Is it a compilation album or is it a Marc Gordon solo album?
Yeah, it'll be something. It'll be kind of like a mixture of things, because you know um I have a couple of songs that we didn't release, that I'm going to release. So, you know, I'm gonna kind of build it, and then you'll hear some stuff that I have that's new. Um, but yeah, I have a plan for all of that. You know, the plan, like the company I'm putting it on is 9311
Okay.
Entertainment Group,
Okay.
and so it's a entertainment group. It's a network. About to launch some internet radio stations, and you know, really try to create a lane for future independence.
Mm.
You know, it just, you know, it became more of a passion based on how the industry um, is kind of lopsided. And it's
Mm.
not even kind of, it's lopsided. And so the best thing that I can give to another up and coming musician is, you know, like, hey man, you know, let's try to get as far as you can without leaning on, you know, the machine, because they gonna take you for everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's about ownership. It's
Mm.
about having, you know, and that's one thing we don't have as, you know, as Black people. We don't have the we don't have the machine, the apparatus,
Mm.
all of the reach that they have, the industry have. But we could have it if we were able to come together and be able to communicate across lines, across the waters. If we would treat this as a one big community, we all live,
Mm.
because we can. It's enough of us to depend on us to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I read an article that the spending power among African Americans last year was over 1.3 trillion. It
Oh
went
yeah,
up, but then the assets um, owned by African Americans went down, meaning that the African Americans in the U.S. are spending over $3 trillion, but their equity that they own is probably was probably lower than it was the lowest ever. Meaning it's
yeah,
been spent on other things, but not buying houses and properties and an investment in long term things. But it's a massive spending power, which
yeah,
could really make and break the economy if it was channeled in an appropriate way.
yeah. And we give it away. You know what I mean? Or allowed to be stolen because you know, you went for the dangling carrot,
Yeah,
or you know, you wanted to you wanted to be what was in that video.
yeah,
Didn't understand the language in the contract. So see, in about 10 years, see how you feel about that.
mm,
You know what I mean? A lot of that, if it don't change your mind in 5, 10 years, then, you know, some people just, you know, that's what they content with doing it like that.
yeah,
I just feel like the world is big enough to have, if the industry is big enough to have several labels, 4 or 5, that's the main labels,
yeah,
big enough to have streaming companies that's really taking the revenue from the labels, but they really not, because they're giving it back to the labels.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? They paying the labels. So if it's big enough to house, now streaming companies weren't around. But all of a sudden, you got multiple streaming companies that's saying they billion-dollar companies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, my point is that the world is big enough and there's room enough for us to have our own infrastructure, to have our own, you know what I mean, situations to where we could really control our narratives, as opposed to, you know, it's like it's like it's like the it's like, you know, a take it or leave it type of thing, even though now there's more access because of technology and the things that you can do. And so it's a lot of people, more people that's like angled to go on an independent vibe. And that's a good thing, especially if you grind and work hard and you know what you're going to do. You betting on you. You know what I mean? And if you believe, then that's what you're going to do. You're going to bet on you. You know better, you do better, you know?
Yeah.
Some people content with taking down the money, but they don't understand, okay, well, you got to pay that money back. Once you do this, that, and the other, you got to pay that money back.
Yeah.
Oh, that's only temporary, homie, you know?
Yeah.
So the thing is that, I don't want to spend that much money. If I, advising somebody out, oh, you don't want to spend that much money like that. Don't waste the money away that you're going to pay back. And not just pay back, but you're going to, you got to understand, you're going to be in that situation past your contract. So if you had a 7-album deal like we did, yeah, 7 albums, and we fulfilled our contract. And but you're never out of it if you're still if they still holding your copyrights.
Wow.
So yet they're still collecting money that they didn't recouped already.
And I was under impression Warner Brothers, because I saw Intro recently just say that they no longer owe Warner Brothers. That's it. They've either they've written off the debt, but they're no longer owing. Does Warner Brothers contact you to say, okay, here's, we're writing off any leftover money from Levert, and now you can start earning?
No, I didn't. I heard about that. I didn't get a call from them saying that they were releasing debt, because I don't think we're in debt.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay,
I don't think we're in debt. But think about it. You're talking about songs 20 plus years old that I'm still collecting royalties from. So if I'm still collecting royalties, guess what? They're still collecting royalties.
Yeah.
They're collecting more than me. So how much debt we got going on? And you got to understand too, that majority of them albums surpassed gold. They were recouped. You know what I mean? So only call I want to hear them make is that I'm getting my masters back.
Well, Anita Baker got hers, and you're on the same label, same Warner Brothers. So,
Yeah.
Is that a plan to try and get those back, or do you think?
No question. There's no question. And whoever's in that position, that should be their goal, is to ownership. And to me, if you can do it without that, then that's what I would say. Hey man, grind it out
Mm,
and do what you can do, because in the end, you got to go through whatever it is they're gonna put you through.
yeah. As the last surviving member of Levert, would you ever see yourself using the name and going on the road and or releasing stuff under Levert, or would as that phase that passed and it's just Marc Gordon?
Well, actually, I did that. Um, Me and Sean did it.
Okay.
So before Sean died, we had put together a record um, called Dedication. And it was actually a dedication to Gerald. During the course of that record, toward the end of the recording, Sean died.
Mm.
So that, so I actually, I pulled in another guy, and it was Sean, and we put together this record. And so it was a thing whether I was going to put it out or not. And I ended up, doing it on a, independently, but you got to watch who you're dealing with that too. You know
Mm.
what I mean? So, yeah, so we made a, made a go out of that way. And I learned some stuff, and now I have another, some more learning that I had done with doing it independently. So this time I'm doing it differently.
Yeah. Would you still perform with the Levert name?
No, I'm not doing
Okay.
that. No. I had
Okay.
done that though for a few years. We had done that in a few years. And then after Sean died, I did it a little bit longer. I tried to, pull it together. And it was just a lot. It's a lot on me to do.
Yeah.
And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do what I do. And whatever it is I do, if I happen to do anything live or anything, of course you're gonna get some Levert, because
Yeah. Of course, you created the stuff. Yeah.
part of that's part of the catalog.
Yeah. I guess the audience will always want to know, how was it for you losing a good friend like Gerald, at just surprisingly like that? Because were you, because he was went solo, he did the LSG. Was there ever, before he passed away, a chance of Levert reuniting?
Yeah, I spoke about it in Unsung, and we had got together. What was it? 2004, and I was living in LA at the time, and ended up running into Gerald, and outside the restaurant, outside my studio, and we got together, and he said, "Man, let's do something." So that was the time that we were talking about doing a reunion.
Hmm.
But for whatever reason, it never. We recorded some songs. Those are some of the songs that I'm gonna release.
Okay.
But um, I don't know what was going on at the time, or what was in Gerald's mind, or what was, I had got a call from Eddie, and we ended up meeting at Roscoe's. He told me
Take it off.
he was at Roscoe's, come up to Roscoe's. So I go to Roscoe's. I lived down the street at the time. And he's like, Gerald don't want to do it, And I was like, do what? What do you mean? You don't want to do the reunion? Well, why he ain't saying that if that's the case? So there's a lot that it was definitely devastating, but it was a time that, things had happened to where I was confused. And I said at that point that when we got together again, when I saw him again, then we gonna have some real conversation. I'm gonna let him know about what I feel was happening. And but unfortunately that didn't happen. So it was kind of a thing where, you know, things were kind of left unresolved as far as, you know, what was happening, you know, and as I start finding out different things, it was definitely things that was going on that would kind of interfere with, you know, progress or, you know, you know, just yeah, it was a lot of things. So it was it was a devastating just, you know, loss for multiple reasons because, you know, and that's why I try to encourage, you know, my people or whoever. It's like, yo, don't waste your time away with whatever it is that differences or things that you need to put out in the atmosphere. If you need to put that in the atmosphere, then do that because you may not get that opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because it does sound, you know, the fact that his dad was the one come to talk to you. I guess that must have been it's one thing for him to say he doesn't want to do the reunion, but did you expect the call to be directly to you on the meetup instead of having Eddie having to do
Oh
it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that was one of my things that I kind of had a little thing to say about. But what ended up happening after that, I ended up calling Sean.
Mm.
And I was like, Sean, I just talked to Vert, and he said that Gerald didn't want to do it. He's like, what? And then he called Gerald, and then we all on three-way.
Uh-huh.
So we all on three-way, and he's like, nah, man, I ain't say that. You know, that, you know, blah, blah, blah. But I partly believe that he did say it. He
Mm.
just wasn't going to own it and say that he said it, you know what I mean? Because of, you know, yo, you wanted to do this. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It was your idea. You wanted to do it. So what's the problem? You know? So yeah, so I think it was some part truth to it.
Mm.
You know, my thing is that, you know, whatever it wasn't going to take away from anything that he did or was doing or whatever the case is, you know, it would have
Yeah.
been. Oh, and we actually did put one of the records on he had a duet record called Voices.
Mm.
So one of the records that we did at that time was called I Like It, and it's on that record. They put together a CD, an album of Gerald songs that he did with other people. So the song he might have did with Mary or with this one or that one,
Mm.
that was on that record.
Okay.
The only new record was the one that we did together.
Okay.
And that was one of the songs that we had did at that time.
Mm. Were you able to celebrate the success of LSG, or what was your thoughts when he connected with Johnny Gill and Keith Sweat?
I was out of the mix at that point. I wasn't a part of the mix. So you know, I'm sure they celebrated, you know, because, you know, they were, you know, doing what they were doing.
Wow.
Yeah, but I wasn't in that mix at the time.
What are some of the so the audience might say, look, I think we've seen your name in credits with other productions in the say the 90s and 2000s. I mean, what are some of the places we would have some of the big tracks that you would have done that people wouldn't have recognized it was you?
Um, what did I say? I told you Troop. We did several Troop records. But that one, Mamacita, and then uh, the was it the next record we did That's My Attitude.
Oh wow.
Yeah, with the original version. I know
Okay.
Teddy
Did
did a
the
remix.
remix. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And who else? I did Music Soul. I did some on Music Soul Child.
Wow.
I didn't do it. I was a part of the collaboration. I just was, I was part of the writing.
Okay.
But yeah, I did that, and then I did something with Immature. Then when
Okay.
they went to IMX, and then when they went to Marcus Houston,
Mm.
so I did something with them. I know it's other people. Eugene Wild from back in the day. Man, of course, Gerald. And I was looking to see if I'd see anything that was going
Yeah, no,
on.
I know.
So yeah, it was several people. I know I'm forgetting a few people
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
What's my man that's on Warner Brothers too? He passed not too long ago. With Quincy Jones. Oh man.
Oh, James Ingram.
James Ingram. Yeah, James
Yeah.
Ingram.
Okay.
Stephanie Mills.
Oh.
Um, yeah, so I mean it's probably like 3 or 4 more.
Yeah. But you're saying for us, I mean, people might ask why wait this long to release this stuff now, as opposed to maybe last year or 2 years ago, 3 years ago. What makes 2022 the perfect time to release your new venture and project?
Well, timing is everything. You know
Mm.
what I mean? So um it's really not about, to me, it's not about just doing it because people do it. It's really oversaturation of music, um, to me. Um, Meaning that everybody is releasing music. Every other day, somebody releasing some music on Facebook or on social media. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? TikTok, whatever it is, people are releasing music. You know, for me, I have to try to do something that's a little different coming from, where I come from. I just
Mm.
feel, you have to give the people, something that's uh, on that same plane, meaning that you may not have the big machine now. Now you got to make it have the big machine feel, as far
Yeah.
as all the reach, and you got to really grind to do it independently. So that's kind of where it's at. And I don't want to, just throw something out just because of time. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah.
Let's set it up. Let's do it the right way. Let's, you know, and I wasn't ready.
So do we expect an official announcement from, is it 993? What's the name of the entertainment, your
I,
company?
yeah.
9311.
Yeah.
And are you part owner? Is this your company or you vet?
Yeah.
Oh, this is yours. Okay.
Yeah. And, I have some people that's working with me. Um, and, the main thing that I'm really trying to do, with the network and the entertainment group is to, really put together something that we can be independent and not depend on, that machine to do things,
Mm.
and start putting the interest back into us. It's time for us as creators to take back our creations
Yeah.
and to own our creations and benefit from our creations. You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
the fullest extent. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the main thing. Is I just feel like it can be done. and it'll be a, you know, it's still a challenge because you got to get it, you know, people in on the same page, but you know, it's something I believe is going to be worth it because, you know, I got my son, he's into the music, you know, my daughter, one of my daughters. So it's the thing where I could see it outlasting me, and something that could be around for the future, as far as another avenue that, you know, young up and coming artists don't have to go through hoops to try to get things done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And really not take all their money for doing it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So I just feel like, you know, it's time for us to have that kind of, you know, infrastructure.
any particular dates we can expect the launch of things?
I plan to launch the network this month, and it's basically the radio network, 9311 network. You know, I have a few stations that'll be, you know, in different cities. And so I'm gonna launch that. Later on, I plan on releasing the book, and along with the book, that's when I'll have like a single, one of the unreleased Levert singles that'll go along with that. So that's the plan. The dates I don't have, but
Okay.
look for that in the future.
Okay. And what would be the name of the book? Have you got the title?
I don't have the title. I'm in between 2 or 3 different titles.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. Well, Mark, I mean, please let us know when that's out, so we can let the let the fans know you know, that okay, here's some dates and here's some directions to how you can either listen to the station in the city where they are,
Definitely.
or yeah, yeah. Please let us
Yeah,
know.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
be, you know, I'm gonna be working with a few people too that I'll probably send your way to, you know, you chop it up with them. You know
Okay.
what I mean? But yeah, yeah, I want to, you know, like, again, I appreciate the, you know, connecting, and you know, it's good to get some eyes and ears in some other places that's, you know, doing some things. So definitely want to, you know, have a connection, and you know, definitely let you know so that you can let your people know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as I said, with the big R&B fans, and it'll be interesting just to see hear the only released tracks and just seeing what you're doing and how to support. I do always end my interviews by asking my guest that if you were stuck in an elevator and had to pick a movie to watch while they try and get you out, what would you request to watch?
That's the craziest question I ever heard. Wow. What movie would I want to watch? Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I don't know. What movie, if I was stuck in an elevator, what would I want to watch? Hmm. I don't know. It can go in a lot of directions. It can go in a lot of directions. I can't even lock it down. I wasn't expecting that one. You got me.
I mean, sometimes
Um,
people just have that go-to movie that, you know, that favorite movie that they always just.
no, you said that like 100 movies crossed my mind. Like, oh, which movie is it? You know what? Nah, I ain't gonna say that either. It's so many movies that I could go to. I can't even say, man. I can't even say, but you know what? I'm gonna say I'm gonna say 5 Heartbeats.
Okay, okay, That's a classic. Is it as I remember watching and loved it, but when have you watched the Temptations movie?
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah, so I just
Uh,
wonder. Yeah, so those two real classics. I mean, I was a big Motown fan, so that Temptation is one of my favorite. But yeah, okay, Five Heartbeats.
I like the original, not the original, but the series Aretha, the one that was a
Oh,
series.
okay. No, I didn't see that one. Okay,
Yeah, that was on who did
I
that?
think Amazon or some or Disney. Okay.
Yeah, one of them did that, and it was a series. It was like 6 or 7 or 8 segments shows. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
pretty good. I didn't
Okay.
see the other one, but that one was
The
really good.
Jennifer Hudson one. Okay. Yeah. I don't know why they
I
brought
did
that.
see that one. I did see that one.
Okay, so
It
that
wasn't as, the other one was, you know, yeah, that one kind of got me a little bit.
okay. I'll look out for that. And then finally, what's your all-time favorite song? Not Levert song, but just a song that you just like. This is my favorite song.
And
Just
see
any
again,
song. Yeah, you
again,
know.
there's so many categories.
Yeah, but I mean,
I can think of um all-time favorite song. I would I would probably have to say in between Earth, Wind and Fire and Cameo. But if I would have to say Earth, Wind and Fire. It would have
what,
to be it would probably That's the Way of the World or Reasons. Yeah.
it's funny that that most of my guest artists struggle to pick the one song. Like me, it's "The Lady in My Life" by Michael Jackson. I just
Yeah, yeah,
never
yeah.
won it. Then I've got Luther's "A House in Our Home," which it's in the top five. But Michael's song is my song kind of thing. So I always, but a lot
Right.
of artists tend to like, oh, Later Halfway or Donny Halfway. They go to Marvin, but they find it
Yeah,
hard to
so
name.
it's hard. It's hard to do. It's so many songs, man. You know what I mean? It's just too many songs to just lock it down to one song. Because again, when you like the song, you could take something from all of them songs you like. You know what I mean? That and make those. It depends on the mood you're in too.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like all the songs you name, smashes.
yeah.
But what's that one? I can even go back to a George Benson song that was. I say that's my all-time favorite jazz song.
Okay, just
Jazz album was Breezing. That joint is classic.
but
So I listen to a lot of different stuff.
now I interviewed Donnie Simpson 2 weeks ago, and he was saying that he sometimes wished he had the ear of, say, he was talking to Frankie Beverly and says, I'm listening to it, and I wish I could listen to it like you guys. And Frankie said, you know what? I wish I had your ears, because he almost sees he can't enjoy them song without thinking, no, he went too high there, went too technical, and sometimes it's hard for him to just enjoy a song without over analyzing as a musician, as a songwriter.
Right.
Do you have that sort of issue? Are you just able to listen to music and not start thinking about the drum beats and
Oh yeah,
progression?
it's hard to do. Yeah, I had a hard time doing that on stage sometime because of I'm, you know, when you hearing different things coming in and out, that's like, yo, they ain't supposed to go there, or that's not supposed to do this, or you came in at the wrong time, or whatever it is. If it's not exactly kind of how it should be, then yeah, I'll notice it.
And you can't enjoy it? Can you, if you're constantly just enjoy, sit back and enjoy, or you're so hearing the
Well, if you're on stage, then you have to, the show goes regardless if you having the issues of hearing different things out of place, or it's coming in, it's just in your ear loud or
yeah.
something. Things like that happen on the stage. If with sound and technical stuff. So when it happens, now you got some artists that'll stop the show and be like, yo, fix this, let's go.
Yeah.
But for the most part, because if you have a certain time and your show is timed out, then you gotta, unless you headline it, and you gotta, and even then you gotta be out of there at a certain time. You know what I mean? So you can't, you delay too long. But yeah, no, it's the show you still gotta go on and make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, it's been great. As I said, when you're about to launch your network, and not just the book but the music, if we let us know so that we can point people into the direction of things, it's really, and especially if you are giving opportunities for up and coming artists to get their music out, because I know people like Arnie Lennox and even Summer Walker have both had massive hits, but have now come out to say they've signed the 360 deals, and they're not making anything, and they realize that they signed away too much too soon at this young age, and so it's happening even worse for the modern day artists than it was back in your day. Now they take their name, and if they even appear in a movie or TV series, the label gets a cut of that. So it's so having a vehicle for up and coming artists and will be something we can all try and celebrate. So once it's ready, just let us know so we can really spread the word as we can.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah, but I appreciate this, Mark. It's been really great. It's been fascinating, and yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing and promoting what's going on with you once dates are sort of confirmed.
No doubt. I will let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll send you an email and send you some links to
Yeah.
check out what's happening, and then we'll go from there.
No, definitely. Well, I appreciate it. I know it's about 11:30 here in the UK, so I've
Yeah, it's
yeah.
5:30 here, so it's time for me to eat.
Yeah. Yeah, but appreciate it. Thanks very much, Mark. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching.